In my 25 years working in a neurology department, I have seen thousands of patients, and I need you to hear me very carefully. Most people who suffer a stroke end up with permanent consequences, not because of the stroke itself, but because of wasted time. This isn't an attempt to scare you, it's a medical fact. For the brain, every minute is everything. Why? Because people ignore the first signs. They write off sudden arm numbness as having slept on it wrong. Sudden dizziness is blamed on a change in the weather. Slurred speech is attributed to fatigue. They don't know the simple actions that can save their brain while help is on the way. And the harsh truth is this: if you don't recognize these signs and start to act, you could permanently lose the ability to speak, walk, or even recognize your loved ones. Every day, patients are brought to our department who could have made a full recovery if they or their relatives had done one or two things differently in the first few minutes. A sudden fog in the head, weakness in the limbs, a drooping face, and by the time they get to us, the therapeutic window, when we can dissolve the clot, is already closed. But there is good news. There are scientifically proven methods, simple actions you can take right now, even if you are completely alone, to dramatically increase your chances of a full life after a stroke. These aren't folk remedies or myths. These are real protocols that neurologists teach worldwide. In this video, I will walk you through 7 vital tips that every senior should know to act correctly at the first signs of a stroke. These are the very steps I wish every one of my patients knew by heart. And be sure to wait for tip number 1. It is the most important one. It's a simple 3-step test that anyone can do in front of a mirror, and it can be the difference between a wheelchair and a return to a normal life. Most people don't know about it, but after today, you will. All the medical recommendations I mention are based on protocols from the American Stroke Association and are listed in the description below. Before we begin, a quick question. Do you know what the face-arm speech test is? Write yes or no in the comments. It's important for me to understand how prepared we all are. And now, without delay, let's start with tip number 7. This is the very first thing you must do. Number 7. Immediately call 911 or your local emergency number. Do not wait for it to pass. The first and most critical action at the slightest suspicion of a stroke is to call for an ambulance immediately. Do not call relatives. Do not search for information online. Do not tell yourself, "I'm just tired," or "I'll lie down and it will go away." Every minute of inaction means millions of dead brain cells. Neurologists say, time is brain. The longer the artery supplying the brain is blocked, the larger the area of the brain that dies, and the lower the chances of recovery. Research confirms this. According to the World Stroke Organization, patients who arrive at the hospital within the first hour have significantly higher chances of a full recovery. Yet, tragically, many seniors ignore the symptoms. Studies show that nearly half of all people wait more than 3 hours before seeking help, often because the symptoms seem minor or they don't want to bother the doctors over nothing. This delay is fatal. Imagine this. A 72-year-old woman, while preparing lunch, felt her left arm go numb and the corner of her mouth droop slightly. She decided it was from fatigue and went to lie down. She slept for 2 hours. By the time her son found her and called an ambulance, the precious time to administer the clot-busting drug was lost. Doctors said that if she had called immediately, she likely would have avoided the paralysis in her arm. This story repeats itself every day. Therefore, if you suddenly experience weakness in an arm or leg, facial asymmetry, problems with speech, dizziness, or a sharp decline in vision, act as if it is a stroke. Even if the alarm turns out to be false, you have lost nothing. But if it is a stroke, you have just taken the most important step to save your brain. So number 6, look at a clock and remember the time. As soon as you've called for help, do the second incredibly important thing that can save your brain. Look at a clock and note the exact time the first symptoms appeared. Why? Because there is a so-called therapeutic window, usually 3 to 4.5 hours from the onset of the stroke. It is during this period that doctors can give you a special drug, a thrombolytic, that dissolves the clot in the brain vessel and restores blood flow. If you can tell the doctor the exact time the symptoms started, it will allow them to make an immediate decision to begin therapy. If the time is unknown, doctors are forced to conduct additional, time-consuming examinations, and precious minutes when brain cells could have been saved will be lost. One retiree, a former military man, felt his speech begin to slur while watching the 7:15 p.m. news. He immediately called an ambulance, and the first thing he told the paramedic was, "The symptoms started at 19:15. This clarity allowed the emergency room doctors to prepare and administer the drug without delay. He walked out of the hospital with minimal consequences. But this is where many people make a mistake. In a panic, they forget about the time. If you can't speak, try to point to a clock. If you are calling a relative, the first thing you should tell them is the exact time. This simple act of providing accurate information to the doctor can be decisive for your recovery. Number 5. Get into a safe position. When a stroke begins, your brain stops controlling your body properly. You may experience severe dizziness, loss of balance, or weakness in your legs. At this moment, the main danger is falling and sustaining an additional injury, such as a fracture or a head injury. Therefore, the third important action is to immediately get into a safe position. The best thing to do is lie on your side on the floor or a bed, placing something soft under your head. Why on your side? If you start to vomit, which often happens during a stroke, lying on your side will prevent you from choking. Do not try to walk, even if you think you can. Your coordination is already impaired. One 68-year-old man felt weak while standing in his kitchen. He decided to walk to a chair in the living room. Halfway there, his legs gave out, he fell, and he hit his head hard on the corner of a table. This caused an intracranial hematoma that complicated his stroke treatment. If he had simply sat and then laid down on the floor where he was standing, this additional injury could have been avoided. What's number 4? Do not eat or drink anything. This may sound strange, but it is critically important. A stroke often affects the nerves responsible for swallowing. Even if you don't feel it, your swallowing reflex may be impaired. Any attempt to drink water, tea, or take medication can lead to the liquid or food going into your airways instead of your esophagus. This can cause aspiration pneumonia, a severe lung infection that significantly complicates treatment and recovery. Doctors in the hospital will always check your ability to swallow before giving you even a sip of water. Do not do anything that could harm you while you are waiting for help. Number 3. Unlock the door for the paramedics. This rule is relevant for any emergency situation. If you live alone, after calling for an ambulance, and if you have the strength, crawl to the front door and unlock it. If you can, leave it slightly ajar. Every minute that paramedics spend breaking down a door is a minute stolen from your brain. If you can't open the door, put the keys in a visible place. Stay near the door if it's safe to do so. This will significantly speed up the arrival of help. But number 2, try to stay calm. In a state of panic, your body releases adrenaline, which sharply increases your blood pressure. In an ischemic stroke caused by a clot, this can worsen the situation. In a hemorrhagic stroke caused by a ruptured blood vessel, it can increase the bleeding in the brain. Therefore, as difficult as it may be, try to remain calm. Focus on slow, steady breathing. Lie down. Close your eyes. Do not try to analyze what has happened. Your job is to wait for the doctors while maintaining as stable a condition as possible. Number 1, perform the FACE-T test, and here is the most important tip. If you feel something strange but are not sure if it's a stroke, perform this simple test. It takes 15 seconds and is the gold standard for diagnosis worldwide. 1. Face. Go to a mirror and try to smile broadly or show your teeth. If one corner of your mouth droops or doesn't move, this is a sign of a stroke. 2. Arm. Raise both arms out in front of you, palms up, and try to hold them there for 10 seconds. If one arm involuntarily drifts downward or feels weak, this is a sign of a stroke. 3. Speech. Try to say a simple sentence clearly and loudly, such as, "The sky is blue today." If your speech is slurred, like you have marbles in your mouth, or if you can't find the right words, this is a sign of a stroke. If you notice even one of these 3 symptoms, do not doubt it. It is a stroke. And the last letter in this test, T, stands for Time to Call 911. This test gives you the power to recognize the enemy and to act immediately. And there you have it, 7 vital tips for recognizing a stroke and taking the right actions. From making the immediate call and noting the time to getting into a safe position and performing a simple test that anyone can do. Each action buys you precious minutes. Minutes that determine whether you can return to a full life. Remember, the brain does not forgive delay. If you act fast, think clearly, and follow these steps, you have every chance to win. Thank you for taking the time for this incredibly important discussion. The health of our blood vessels and our brain begins with small daily decisions, and I hope this information has given you the power and knowledge to make them. Your experience can be a source of support for others. Please write in the comments which of these morning habits was the biggest revelation for you. Or perhaps, what is one small change you will try to make in your routine starting tomorrow? I read your comments, and your participation is very valuable. If you found this information useful, please give it a like. It's a simple way to help the YouTube algorithms show this video to more people who may need it. And of course, please share this video with your friends and loved ones, especially those over 60. This conversation might one day save someone's life. To avoid missing future discussions on how to live a long, healthy, and full life, subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. Take care of yourselves and be attentive to your body.